Three tomatoes are walking down the street. Papa tomato, mama tomato, and baby tomato.
Playing Catch-Up presents.
Starring Lindsay Hinkle and Jamie Nelson.
So this is Playing Catch-Up, is it? I prefer something with a little more kick.
Everybody's favorite condiment-themed entertainment podcast.
Put some hot sauce on my burrito, baby!
Hot sauce.
Nobody puts ketchup on a hot dog.
And you're listening to Hot Sauce on PlainKetchupPodcast.com. This month we are talking songwriting. I'm Jamie Nelson, and with me my co-host Lindsay Hinkle. What do you feel is your favorite song lyric-wise?
Of course I'd have to say MMMBop by Hanson, because it's the only song I don't forget at karaoke.
It's because there's no words in it.
Exactly.
A long time ago, my friend and I, she would come over to my house, and every Monday night we would spend like an hour on the phone with Z104 trying to get them to play Little Black Backpack.
By who?
By Stroke 9. You know Little Black Backpack, Lindsay? Didn't you grow up in the 90s?
I did. I was just kind of caught up in the whole Hanson and Spice Girls thing. I would consider Jack White to be the best songwriter of our time.
Jack White from the White Stripes?
From the White Stripes, from the Raconteurs, from the Dead Weather, you name it. When I saw them live, this huge stage was just filled with instruments, and he was just running back and forth across the stage between songs, picking up different instruments.
And then setting them down again.
Yeah, and immediately setting them down and going back to his guitar.
This one's too heavy.
So, Jamie, who do we have in the Skype studio today?
We've got with us here in the Skype studio, Brendan McLaughlin.
So tell me, Caitlin, are you ready for me yet? 'Cause I've been waiting, ignoring everything you said. I can't remember what you look like, 'cause I haven't seen you for so long. And you say you're done with this fight, but I just keep holding on. So tell me.
How are you, Brendan?
I'm good.
Did I say your name right?
Yes, you did.
Yay.
Yeah.
I like it when that happens. So I'm familiar with Brendan as a comic, so when I asked him what topic he wanted to talk about, I was not expecting songwriting, unless it was a joke, but as it turns out, you do have an authority to talk about songwriting, because you're in a band called Goodness Gracious.
Yeah, we haven't played in a little while, if I'm being forthcoming here. But yeah, I was in a band in college for a couple years, and we recorded an album.
Why don't you talk a little about your band, your band, sorry. I just drank milk, which I think is not good for you when you're trying to talk on air.
Podcasters never drink milk. Everybody knows that that's a bad idea.
I only drink soy milk.
I have soy chai.
That sounds really good, yeah.
It's like having a meaty cashew milkshake.
Last time I had like a chocolate milkshake, I was like, this is good, but it could use some meat and cashews.
Yes. Couldn't everything. So, anyway, Brendan's band.
Well, my good friend Jake, who is the singer and bassist in the band, we had kind of a setup like the Police. We were a trio, and Jake, who has a really great voice, was our singer and played bass. We went to high school together, and we were in a cover band in high school, and we'd play at like the Battle of the Bands kind of things, and like coffee house things that they would have in our cafeteria. And that was really fun, but we were very young and in high school. And actually, not to brag, but we were called Mr. Eliminator, and we were actually pretty good. Well, I think we seemed better than we were because the other bands in high school were so bad. But we would kind of like pick fun covers and play at school, and it was fun. And then we ended up going to the same college. And then in college, we were like, oh, why don't we have a band and like write songs and stuff? And so we did that. And the way we, and actually the drummer we got is our friend Alex. And he was my other friend's roommate in college, and randomly he had kind of a history in drumming, and in college, before college, he had toured as Jesse McCartney's drummer.
Oh!
It was something really random where like his mom, or his friend's mom, was like Jesse McCartney's like manager, and he was a really good drummer, and really young and really good. And he had randomly been this like seasoned touring drummer backing up Jesse McCartney. So we ended up doing it with him. And the way we got our name was we had a friend in college who we gave him the nickname of Gracious because, the simple answer is he was really gracious. But like we met him freshman year and he would have parties in his room. And, like freshman year, it's like, oh, everybody's kind of like a slob and you go to a party and it's like kind of gross, but whatever, you just go because it's like social. But when he would have parties, like, you'd go in and he'd be like, oh, hey, welcome, nice to have you. Hey, we have snacks over here. There's some hummus and some ranch dip. You're going to love it. We have music over here. If you guys have any preferences, please let me know. And we were like, oh, this guy's a really gracious host. And we ended up becoming good friends with him, but we would call him Gracious. So then we named our band loosely after him as a tribute.
You didn't want to call him something like Hospitality Man.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's more, well, yeah. Well, but it's funny because somehow just the word gracious just kind of works. It makes sense for him for some reason. I can't explain why. And but I'd introduce him to other people as Gracious, like, oh, this is our friend Gracious, and they'd be like, why do you call him Gracious? And then later in the night they'd come back and they'd be like, hey, I was talking to Gracious. You're right. He is really gracious.
So, but was he in the band though?
No, but we were just friends with him through college. So we were trying to figure out what to call our band, and the word gracious kept floating around. And then that usually comes after the word goodness, so we just decided to go for it.
Well, Lindsay and I were in a high school band.
I was going to say.
And the way we picked our name is we were all sitting in my living room, and I was writing stuff down on the whiteboard, like people were just shouting out ideas and we were going to vote on it. But Lindsay was sitting in the back of the room with a legal dictionary that she pulled off my parents' shelf. And she was just like saying stuff, like not even for the band. She was just reading this dictionary out loud. And so I wasn't really paying attention to what she was doing. I was just writing down everything I heard. And then we voted on all the words that were on the whiteboard. And at the end of the day, we became Simple Assault.
That's a good name.
You can thank Lindsay for that one.
Yeah.
In the dictionary and pointed.
It's like when you attack someone, but it's really just direct, like you got mugged, what happened? Like, it was a really simple assault. Just came up and he had a knife and I gave him everything that I had. It's
less than substantial battery.
Yeah.
Remember that from the dictionary.
So maybe we opened for substantial battery.
Right.
So that sounds like it would totally be a band too. Like, if I heard that there was a band called that, I'd almost be like, oh yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Sounds real.
We played a pretty mean That Thing You Do.
You played that song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like a hard song to play.
Yeah, there's 11 chords on guitar, and Lindsay was playing the keyboards for that one.
No, I was on bass.
Really? Well, but you had the piano part, right?
I can play it on piano and drums too.
Well, and that was written by the bass player from Fountains of Wayne, right?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Adam like Schlesinger. Wait a minute.
He was in that Tinted Windows with Bunny Carlos and Taylor Hanson.
Yeah.
And Lindsay only knows that because Taylor Hanson was involved.
We don't need to mention that.
He was what? I think I might have. Yeah, I got that right. Adam Schlesinger. He's in Fountains of Wayne, and he wrote that song. And Mike Viola sang it, and I know some of his music too.
Ah.
But yeah, that has a lot of chords in it. That has a chord where it's major and then it like becomes minor.
Yeah, there's one chord that it's only played once in the whole song, and every time I play it, I just make up something different because I don't actually know what it is.
I know what you mean. It's in the bridge where it's at the end of the bridge where it's like bling,
and it goes really high.
Bling, yeah,
all the way like up the neck. It's not supposed to sound good at this point anyway. It's supposed to go. Nah.
Yeah, I don't mean this to sound sexist. It's not at all, but I remember being at this open mic and this duo of girls played a version of what is that House of the Rising Sun? And I knew the Animals version, which is like 2 or 3 verses, but I guess the original is much longer. It's like an old folk song, but they did I swear it was like 12 verses of it, and it was so long, and they went way over like what their time was, but the chords in the song are like, it's like A minor, C, D, and F, and every time it went to the F, like the girl couldn't play, like she clearly like couldn't like didn't have the strength in her hand to like make that F like bar chord on the first fret. So every time they got to the F, she would just touch the note F. Like with one, so it would be like the whole time you'd hear these three chords, and then it would end with just one note at the end.
Dong.
Yeah, like she would kind of cop out. Yeah, it would be like.
That's why I prefer piano, because there's no, like, well, I can't actually make that chord, because I can.
Is there anything your fingers can't reach, though, because all your other fingers are in use?
Yeah, I guess if it, like, took up the whole keyboard, my hands aren't that big.
Who is the pianist that, in jazz, who heard two people playing, thought it was one person, and learned how to play it?
Oh, I remember that story. Who was that?
Was it not Fats Waller?
It sounds like it could have been like Thelonious Monk or something.
Yeah, maybe.
That sounds kind of monkeyan.
I took history of the jazz culture, in college, but I don't remember that far back.
That sounds like a rockin' class.
Aside from geography, it was like the hardest class in college.
Really?
Because it was all music majors, and I was an English major, and we had to like listen to all these CDs and like know what different mutes they're using on the trombones, and I'm like, I can't even tell if that is a trombone.
Yeah, jazz can be kind of scary because it's like even if you know some stuff about music, like you don't know much about jazz. Like playing it and just learning about it, it's kind of like there were like fewer rules. I don't know. It's intimidating. I could see that class being scary.
Yeah, there was one point where we had to identify, for a test, we had to listen and identify all the instruments in it, and like the next instrument came on, and I was like, wow, it sounds like a flute, but I know that can't be right. We haven't studied flute. So I put down, like, I don't know, clarinet or something, and it turned out it was a flute, of course, because what sounds like a flute other than a flute?
Piccolo?
We didn't study flutes and piccolos. Brendan, do you, like, ever write music for other instruments, like, other than what you would normally play in a band?
Not really. I've always written and played on guitar. The amount of keyboard I know is so like tiny and like basic. Like I can give you some Evil Woman by ELO. I don't think there's a single black key in it unless you play the intro, which I don't. It's funny, in the band we had a kind of that thing you do moment. I wrote this song called Caitlin, which I wrote on an acoustic guitar, and it was really kind of like a slow thing. More like, I don't know, more of like, I thought it would be like a slower song. And then when I played it with the band, our drummer started playing it a lot faster than I pictured it. So I was like, it was really like that moment, like in the movie where he's like, Alex, that's too fast. No, Alex, stop, it's too fast. And then we just started playing it, and we ended up liking it a lot. So it ended up staying faster and being kind of more electric than we expect. And also, that's actually our iTunes best-selling track.
Ah, and that's on your MySpace as well, right?
Yeah, MySpace/goodness gracious NY. Yeah, we still we put our music on that site Django.
Oh yeah.
Where I don't know, I don't go on the site a lot, but our songs get played on it, and people buy our album, which is kind of cool.
Neat. Was there just sort of like one person who would write all the songs, or did you all kind of write songs separately or together? Did you end up fighting about songs and throwing hi-hats, or how did that process work?
Yeah, we threw a lot of hi-hats. It was like being in a band with Odd Job from Goldfinger, where we were hurling our sharp circular objects across the room at each other. No, me and my friend Jake would write songs separately and together.
When you look at it, like when you look at lyrics to a song you've never heard before, I feel like they look cheesy anyway, and then when you hear the song, it's fine. How do you know if what you're doing is actually cheesy, or if it's just because they are lyrics?
I think it's similar to comedy in a way, where if the person's like comfortable with their own voice, then I think then they kind of like, whatever it is, they kind of sell it well. Like, I grew up, like my dad loved U2, so I always grew up loving U2. A lot of people our age don't right now.
That's because they've all gone to Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I guess people don't like what they're doing now, but I always liked their music, and I always liked their lyrics a lot. So when I was as a kid playing guitar, I would try to start writing songs, and all their lyrics are really like big and broad and kind of like about, like they could be about anything. Like you kind of know what they're about, but they're also just kind of big and all-inclusive and kind of talking about, like, kind of religious sometimes and, like, spiritual. And I remember just trying to write stuff that I thought, like, you too might write, because that's what I listened to when I was younger, and I just could never do it, and I would always be like, oh, this is, like, terrible. And then in college, I got really into the Replacements, and I love Paul Westerberg's songwriting. I had never heard him before then, but his lyrics are like the opposite of that, like really specific, like the song Alex Chilton. I just remember hearing that song and just falling in love with it. And it's about, and I was like, I don't even know, it's all talking about this guy, Alex Chilton. And I was like, I don't even know who that is, but I love this song. And it ends up, it's about the singer from Big Star, another band. But I just remember being like, oh, like this song is so specific. It's talking about someone that I don't even know, but something about it, it's still universal, even though it's really about something specific. So I started writing more like that, and that was when I started writing a lot of songs of just kind of like knowing what it's, instead of being like, oh, this could be about anything, but let's make it sound good. I remember being like, oh, no, I know what this is about, and I'll just say more like what I would say to someone if I were talking to them, but just put it into the song. But I think it's like once somebody finds the way they want to write, then if they're confident with it, then that's, even if it sounds corny, they can make it sound, they can kind of sell it if it's their style and they kind of own it.
Do you feel that you writing comedies sort of taken the same approach? Like, did you start trying to write like someone who you thought was really funny and then found your own voice, or?
Yeah, definitely. Like when I started, I would do more one-liners that I thought were clever, make up a premise that I thought I had like a clever little twist for. I kind of have moved away from that, and like there are a lot of people that do that really great, and I love their jokes that come from that, but I just realized like, oh, that's not like what I'm good at and kind of confident with.
I went to go see Liza Colby a couple weeks ago. They were opening for, what's his name?
Tommy Stinson.
The band was really great, and then this other band comes on, and I was like, wow, that singer really looks like Michael Imperioli. But there's a lot of Italians in New York. I'm sure it's not him. So after the first song, I left. And then I talked to you, and I didn't even know you lived in New York, because, like, I'm friends with Emma.
Yeah.
Because I studied with her in London.
Oh, she's gracious, too, by the way.
So she recommended you as a good guest for the show, and I didn't know you were in New York. And so I went on your Twitter, and I saw that you were at the same show, and I was like, that is weird.
Yeah, that was really weird. Like, well, because we had just, I think, like, that day had just been, like, in email contact. And then I, like, you know, like, got back from the show and tweeted something like, great show by, well, Tommy Stinson, by the way, is the bass player from The Replacements. So it was my first time. I was, like, psyched to see him, and he didn't write any of their songs. He sang some backup towards the end, but the end of their career, but I didn't really know his music all that well. And then I ended up going and loving it, and I kind of went just to, because I've never seen anyone from The Replacements. Paul Westerberg hasn't been on tour in a while. And I went and thought it was awesome. But yeah, I had the same thing where I was there, and I was like, the opening band was playing, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch these guys. And I was like, hey, that guy kind of looks like Christopher from The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Christopher. I've seen him kill people. But yeah, and then you tweeted at me like, oh, you were there too? And I was like, what?
I was freaked out. Yeah, what did you think of that band?
I thought they were pretty good. It seemed like a newer thing.
Yeah.
But I liked his songs, actually. He played a couple, towards the end he played this one song that he dedicated to an actor who had died, who I'm not sure who it was, but he said that the actor had really loved the Sex Pistols, and then he played this song that kind of sounded kind of Sex Pistols-y.
Hey guys.
Yes.
I gotta go.
I wouldn't want Lindsay to be late for something.
Not at all, especially if it involves dressing up as a zombie.
It does, so...
Does it? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The zombie musical.
I'm hanging my head in shame, which I know you can't see, but I am doing that.
Well, why don't we wrap it up, and people can find you at brendanmclaughlin.com?
Yeah, and also I'll do the old Twitter plug, because it's always nice to get some followers there. And that's where I update a lot. So
what's your Twitter handle?
BT McLaughlin.
All right. And music is on iTunes?
Yeah. Goodness Gracious. If you go to goodnessgraciousmusic.com.
So people should go and check that out.
Yes.
Well, Brendan, we will be in touch. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Jamie and Lindsay, thanks for having me.
Hey, have a good night.
Cool. And also thanks for coming to my show, Jamie.
Oh, yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, it was really nice to meet you. Thanks for coming.
All right, bye.
See ya.
I think I'm done with telephones tonight. I repeat myself but never get it right. I could wait around and hear what is already clear, but I think for now I've given up the fight. I can't remember why I left or why you came. If things were different, then they'd still turn out the same. The first time is the last time when it comes to your favorite pastime, and you can thank that thought for all your rise and fame. So tell me, Caitlin, are you ready for me yet? 'Cause I've been waiting, ignoring everything you said. I'd pick up just to hear you laugh and cry, with nothing left to do but live and die. And when I tell you it's okay, it's just for lack of better words to say, or better that than hear you say goodbye. So tell me, Caitlin, are you ready for me yet? 'Cause I've been waiting, ignoring everything you said. So tell me,